very welcome to this Psoas Release mid-monthly health talk. So we're going to dive in really quite deep this week. Sometimes topics can be very general. This week is really refined. And as you all know what I do, my mission is to help you understand and talk to your body and understand when it gives you symptoms, what it's actually saying and which meridians you need to go to, which foods you need to eat, and how to have a conversation and listen to your body, because your body is so wise. The amount of functions that it's actually doing right here, right now, are beyond the comprehension of your mind. But we think we're so smart. I'm going to take these off. They don't help me at the moment. We think we're so smart and our mind can work everything out. We think we need to be in control. But actually, if we leave our body talk, it's much wiser, and we listen to what it says, get the mind out of the way, listen to what it says, and talk to it with food, qigong, and touch of the acupressure points. So let's delve right in. What is the psoas? So you can see here, the psoas is a really big, deep muscle, and it attaches from the femur, which is at the top of that big, thick bone at the top of your thigh. It attaches to the top of here and goes over your hip, and it attaches all the way from the bottom of your spine, all the way up to the thoracic, right underneath your kind of rib cage, right underneath your diaphragm. So it's very involved with like every process in the body. So that gives you an idea. And it's kind of like they've got lots of feathers that move from the top of your thigh right up the inside and attach to your spine all the way up. And the psoas is a major muscle that, like I said, it's in charge of so much of the body. It lifts your legs, and it, even if it's working properly, will actually massage and move the internal organs. And as you know, with doing qigong, if you can actually move and use pressure on your body, that will help the fascia. It helps the fascia hydrate. It also creates an electrical charge. This kind of coiling and uncoiling creates an electrical charge in the body, so it generates energy. But if the psoas isn't working properly, then you're going to be low in energy, and you're not going to be massaging your internal organs. You're not going to be detoxing properly, and you're going to get a lot of stagnation. I'm going to end up repeating myself because I've just covered loads already. It's often called the flight or fight muscle because it's very much linked. You can see that if it goes over your hips and links to your spine, that's very much where your kidney and adrenals are. And it's the muscle that actually gives you the impetus to run away, to move, to actually kind of launch yourself into action. Massive muscle in the body. If you think about it, that massive muscle here drives you to action. And that's okay if you want to run away from a tiger, or if you want to save somebody or something dramatic is happening. But what often happens these days is that because things can be very stressful and we are bombarded so much with information, often we react all the time. And so we're always responding. And this is the muscle that actually will respond and create action. And if that's used too much, you can get exhausted, or also it can begin to shorten. So working properly, the psoas muscles function. If I can explain it, it's almost like a big tent. So it's like a circus tent. And this muscle here is like the guy ropes that actually pin the top, the circus pole, which is your spine, it pins that to the ground. So that allows you to move left and right, forwards and backwards, because it allows the spine to move. And as you know, with the qigong, we need to keep this center of axial stability needs to be nice and flexible, just the same as the tent pole of a big top tent. So if you can think of it in terms of that these guy ropes come down and attach to the top of your thighs, and that enables your spine to move. So where is the psoas? So I gave you a very intense picture of exactly what it looked like, and this gives you a more general idea. So you can see it's coming all the way up here, and the diaphragm is here. It actually attaches to the bottom of the diaphragm. So the diaphragm, when you breathe in and your chest expands, your diaphragm actually pulls down and your psoas shortens. So the psoas helps pull the diaphragm down. And then as you breathe out and the diaphragm moves up and pushes all the oxygen, the carbon dioxide, or all the air from your lungs out, your lungs are moving up, your diaphragm is moving up, then your psoas will elongate. But if your psoas has become shortened, or if it's become kind of stringy, dehydrated, brittle, you know, your muscles can become short and brittle, then you're going to have problems. So the psoas muscles, if you want to know technically, they attach to the bottom of the thoracic spine, which is T12, and all the way down to the lumbar spine, which is right down deep by the sacrum, at L4, right down deep. Can you see down here? Here is your sacrum. If you were to be able to see behind the spine, you've got a nice little triangular bone here, the sacrum. So you can see it attaches all the way from the bottom of the spine right up through to the mid spine where the diaphragm is. And it attaches to the top of the femur, the thigh bone. And the psoas flexes the hip. So when you bring the knee into the stomach, that is when your psoas is being shortened. Also running, when it lifts your leg up, that is bringing the psoas into action. So if you spend a lot of time sitting down, or if you spend a lot of time driving, say you're a taxi driver or you drive people around a lot, you spend a lot of time in the car, especially driving because you're using your feet and you're using small motor movements of your legs, this especially shortens the psoas. And these days, a lot when we work from home, we spend a lot of time sitting in front of the computer. That can also shorten the psoas. And the psoas also, as well as kind of moving the leg up and down. So if you imagine you are sitting down and then you get to stand up, that's an action that the psoas initiates. Also, it allows you to move your feet to the outside and inside. So all these different movements, the psoas is in control of. It adducts the hip, bringing the leg towards the center of the body. So what that means is that you can bring your leg up to your chest. So it allows the knee to come towards the chest, and also squeezing. Your adductors are kind of your quads, which are on the front of the thighs. This is your adductors. We're going deep, deep down underneath that to the psoas. And because of its attachments to the lumbar vertebrae, the psoas also contributes to the lateral tilting of the pelvis, hiking the hips one at a time. So that means when you want to climb up stairs, also bending the spine from one side to the other. So have you got the idea that the psoas is really a core muscle in your body? And what does it do? So it's the only muscle that connects the spine to the legs. So it's the only one that really governs the movement of the spine. But often we don't think about it, we don't work the psoas because actually we can't feel it. It's so deep down in the body that we can't usually kind of massage or use foam rollers or even stretch it, to be honest. It's quite difficult to do psoas stretches. Like I can touch my bicep, I can touch my quadricep, I can touch my calf, I can massage this area, but I can't really get in and massage the psoas. The psoas muscles support your internal organs, I said that, and work like hydraulic pumps, allowing the blood and lymph to be pushed in and out of your cells. So at a cellular level, the psoas needs to be able to contract and expand, coil and uncoil. Do the opposite way around. Uncoil and coil. It needs to be able to be flexible and not shortened. They're vital to not only your structural well-being, but also the psychological well-being because of the connection to the breath. So if the psoas are shortened, you can see how they go here. Now, this is a picture of a woman who's actually pregnant, but it doesn't matter so much. It's that her hips are slightly tilted differently. You can see that it's attached here from the thoracic and comes through the hips and over and attaches to the femur. And so you can imagine that if these become very shortened and you're not actually getting your massage to your internal organs, that your internal organs are becoming very stagnant, this is actually going to affect your health and your mental well-being. I don't know if anybody has ever experienced severe constipation, but it actually leads to a stuffiness. It actually leads to sinusitis, because the large intestine is really intricately connected with your sinus, and that can leave you with fuzzy head, foggy head, lots of problems. So don't just think that these psoas muscles are just about your legs. They can affect right into your sinuses. The two tendons from the diaphragm, they're called the crura, and they extend down and connect to the spine alongside where the muscles, the psoas muscle attaches. One of the ligaments wraps around the top of each psoas. So like I said before, it's very much connected with your breathing. So if you're not breathing deeply and breathing well, it might not even be the muscles that are in your chest. It could really be that your psoas is also tight. And as we know, when you can't breathe properly, this affects your lungs, which will actually affect your immune system. And also, I know we're going to talk about that in a minute, it will also affect your kidneys. The diaphragm and the psoas muscles are connected through the fascia. Now, the fascia is that gel-like substance which covers all of the muscles and the connective tissue and the bone. Now, not a lot is really known about the fascia, because really up until recently, I think it was kind of the 1920s, 1930s, maybe even later, when they dissected a cadaver, then actually the fascia would have dissolved. It just dissolves when you're dead. It dissolves away. So people didn't think of it as actually anything really very important, but it makes the integrity of the body. It connects it all up. It's kind of like a web of collagen that completely covers, like a sheath, all around the body and all around the organs. And the diaphragm and the psoas muscles are connected as well through this fascia. And like I said, the psoas, the action of the psoas, it's such a powerful muscle that it can actually hydrate the fascia by moving it, by coiling it and uncoiling it. And these connections between the psoas muscles and the diaphragm connect your ability to walk, to breathe, how you respond to fear and excitement. So quite a lot, these muscles would be known as the flight or fright muscles. So if you have experienced fear and you're ready to run away at any given moment, you're on alert, then these psoas muscles are going to be also on alert. And that as well can make them shorten and tighten. And like I said, that brings problems with digestion, with breathing, and emotionally, how you respond. Because I mean, you're all on the same page as me. You know that how your body feels will affect how your mind thinks. So if we're able to be cool and free and easy with our muscles, then our thinking is usually able also to be free and easy, aware of the possibilities in situations. But if you're in flight or fright, really the brain, what it does is it doesn't give you options. If you are running away from a tiger, it doesn't go, well, will I climb that tree or will I run down into that cave? No. Flight or fright responses they turn off the ability to see options, to have choices. They just give you one option and that's the way you go. So can you see how the psoas muscle can actually change the way you think? If your psoas muscle is very, very tight all the time, there's a real distinct possibility that that's signaling the body that you are in a flight or fright situation, and that you won't be thinking in a clear-minded way with lots of possibilities. So here, when you're startled or under stress, your psoas contracts. In other words, your psoas has a direct influence on your flight or fright response. Just said all that. The same muscles flex your trunk forward when you bend over and pick something up from the floor, and they stabilize your trunk and spine during movement and sitting. So quite often, if you bend down to pick something off the floor and you go, ooh, and you hold your back, it's actually probably your psoas muscle. So think that psoas right from your thighs up to your spine. It's not just the muscles around the spine. So if you go for a massage and they're just working on your spine and on the muscles there, it's not getting to the core of the problem, because essentially nobody can do that for you. You've got to do the exercises I'm going to show you how to do. So, symptoms. How do you know if your psoas is short? So you end up with duck bum. So you can see that this is a normal lumbar spine. Let me move this out of the way. Where's that going now? This is your normal lengthened psoas. So here it is attaching to your spine and then coming down and attaching to your top of your thigh. But if you've been sitting for a long time and that's become shortened, then what happens is that pulls the spine forwards and sticks your bum out. So you end up with this deep curve in your back. It can also mean if your legs are different lengths, then there's something going on with your spine. And as Miriam said at the beginning, then one of her legs was weakened. Having a discrepancy in your legs usually is a sign to me, if someone's coming to me for a treatment, that the psoas needs working on. Hello? Why won't this? Knee and low back pain. So yeah, when you've got knee pain, that's also because your spine isn't sitting properly, and perhaps your forwards and your knee is having to compensate. So you can see that your body it's what we call a kinetic chain, that almost, if you imagine a train with lots and lots of carriages, if one of those carriages is slightly out of sync, that's also going to mean everything else has to change and compensate for the carriage that's not working properly. And the postural problems. When your psoas is short or tight, it pulls your pelvis into an anterior tilt, compressing the spine in the lower back and pulling your back into, I can't say that word, duck bum. That's much easier to say. You get duck bum. So you know, this morning when we put our hands on the kidneys and you stick your bum out, that's shortening. And then we curve the spine forwards and that lengthens the psoas. Every morning you will find that we work on the psoas in Chi Flow with Jo. It is absolutely crucial that that muscle stays nice and lengthened and flexible. If your psoas is overstretched or weak, it can cause the natural curve. Your spine has a natural curve. It just doesn't stick like a duck bum. And if it's the other way, then you get a flat bum. then it's too curved forwards. And this misalignment is characterized by tight hamstrings, pulling down on the sitting bones, which causes the sacrum to lose its natural curve and results in a flattened lumbar spine. More consequences. We're almost there, but I thought it was really important to give you an idea to really feel in your body where this muscle is, because you're going to be working on it. So if you have a shortened psoas, or if your psoas is weak, then this can lead to constipation and menstrual difficulties, because like I said, it's not moving the blood, it's not moving the energy, especially in that lower abdomen area. And all the blood vessel pass through and around the psoas muscles. Tightness in the psoas can impede blood flow and nerve impulses to the pelvic organs and to the legs. And if your psoas is short, what's that doing? If you've got duck bum, it's compressing the organs together from your rib cage right to your hips. It'll shorten the space that the organs have to exist in. And so this affects your digestion, your food absorption, your elimination, as well as sexual dysfunction. Because if you are, for a man, if you haven't got good blood flow or energy flow, if the nerve impulses are impeded or in any way, then you're not going to be able to get an erection. And also, as a woman, you're also not going to be able to get lubricated or get aroused so easily if your psoas is tight. And this is really important. This is what I write about in my book, Good Food, Better Sex. It's not about having sex with someone, but really our sexual organs is really our lower dantian, and the ability to keep them healthy will slow the aging process. When I talk about reproduction, I'm not talking about having babies. I'm talking about reproducing on a cellular level. And that means keeping your hair nice and lustrous, growing your nails, reproducing skin cells, reproducing blood cells, and most importantly, as we come into next month, making sure that your bones also reproduce, because that's the beginnings of osteoporosis, when your bone disintegrates quicker than the cells reproduce. And the psoas, and being able to keep your lower area, the lower dantian, all the way around your hips, your bum, your sacrum, your sexual organs, being able to keep these full of blood and chi is essential for feeling good. I'm not sure if I put this in one of the bullet points, and it's come into my mind now, so I'm going to say it, that these muscles for me are really about being embodied. They're what it is to be human. And if you have problems with kind of like not being grounded, about kind of being off and away, which is lovely, no problem with being kind of off and away with the fairies, one of my favorite things to do, but you've got to be yin and yang with that. You've got to be embodied. You've got to be able to eat properly, eliminate properly, have good sexual function. You've got to be a human being. That's what we're here to be experiencing. We have to experience being a human being. And these psoas muscles, for me, as we talked about in the chi flow this morning, are really the actual core of our body. They allow, it's like the axis from which we turn on. They are our embodied self. So if we're constantly in flight or fright and we don't want to deal with what's causing the constant fear in the body, then that's going to have emotional and physical repercussions. We'll come back into being human now. Shallow breathing and a stiff neck. You're thinking, well, like, how is the psoas all the way down in my thighs got anything to do with having a stiff neck? Well, it will affect your breathing. And a tight psoas muscle creates a thrusting forwards of the rib cage, and that limits you. Try and breathe properly, You try and breathe deeply. Just give it a go now. Stick your bum out, even if you're sitting down, stick your bum out and really over curve your spine and see how much you can breathe. You can't breathe at all. You can't breathe at all. We have to now go back in the other way and tuck your spine under, as if you, I know I'm sitting down, but as if you're really engaging your lower dantian. And so your spine becomes lengthened. Remember, we do this in Chi Flow every single morning. Lengthen your spine. And now feel how much easier it is for the breath to enter the body. How much ease there is in the shoulders and the neck. I'm telling you, psoas is at the root of it all. Physical and emotional exhaustion. Your psoas muscles create a muscular shelf for which the kidneys and the adrenals rest on. As you breathe properly, the diaphragm moves and your psoas muscles massage the kidney and the adrenals. So even for things kind of like menopause, making sure that you've got a good psoas function there, that you can lengthen and shorten at will. You have control and ease of the psoas muscles will really help your whole hormonal system. What else have I written here? Breathing properly into your diaphragm moves your psoas muscles gently, massage the organs, stimulate blood circulation. When the psoas muscle becomes imbalanced, so do your kidneys and adrenal glands, causing physical and emotional exhaustion. Like if you feel constantly in a state of fear, like you are got post-traumatic stress disorder, so that you've had a stressful situation and everything is triggering that stressful situation and you can't come back down to self-soothing, your psoas and your kidneys are constantly going to be, they're connected, so they're constantly going to be on alert. So by going and doing these psoas release exercises is going to help return your body to a state of balance, so that, say you've been through a very, very stressful situation and then you go and get a coffee and something triggers that stressful situation. You have to be able to know, this is not that situation that was in the past. Because if you keep getting triggered to that past situation, that's not reality. Being human means being able to distinguish what is in your mind from what is reality. I'm sure we'll have lots of questions about that afterwards. I hope so anyway. Causes, we're almost there. Prolonged periods of stress, your psoas is constantly contracted. If you sit for long periods of time, and that includes driving, especially driving, you know, you get out of the car and people are like, oh, and they hold their lower back. It's actually kind of pushing yourself into duck bum and shortening even more. You actually kind of want to do the other way. Excessive running and walking, and you're like, well, why would that be? Because you're constantly lifting. You have to do the stretch so that you stretch it out the other way. If you sleep in the fetal position, if you're constantly curled around, you can see how that would shorten the psoas muscle. So being able to feel relaxed in your sleep and lengthen and relax the body, really important for the psoas. If you do a lot of sit-ups, like it's quite obvious. I'm just thinking that's really why I don't do sit-ups then, you know. I'll have my squishy belly and no sit-ups and an elongated psoas. So you can see that if you're lying down and you're constantly crunching, if you're constantly doing a lot of sit-ups, that will shorten the psoas. Now then, if you're being taught correctly, you will then be taught to turn the other way around and lengthen the psoas. So you would be on all fours and putting your leg behind you. That would lengthen the psoas. So now we go on to, but that would be a real kind of going to the gym, doing those kind of things. Whereas here in Qigong, we have a slightly different way of working with it. We use the mind, we use the imagination to actually kind of connect with the body and move the muscles. Because as you know, it's the mind and the intention that can actually stretch the body. So due to its location deep within the core of the body, the psoas is difficult to feel with your hands and to sense internally. The psoas muscles are deep hip flexors that are active in nearly every core movement, but they do tense up from daily life. Static stretching has little or no lasting effect on the level of tension. So what do I mean by static stretching? I mean this kind of thing, where you just kind of move the leg. So a general static stretch for the psoas would be holding and bringing the knee up. That would be a classic stretch for the psoas. But really, that's just stretching the quad. That's not going deep down and elasticating the psoas. It's just working on the quads on the front. Because it's linked to so many muscles, functions, and positive posture positions, resetting the body and using mind-body movements are very effective. And this month, Health Talk is a combination of education of the psoas so that you know where it is, the anatomy, and then the movement practice to strengthen and stretch this region. So we're going to use some Tao Yin, which is a type of Qigong yoga. So you can see here, this is one of the static stretches that I just showed you here, where you take this. And what have we been doing? This, if you are familiar with the Makaho, this is like the stomach spleen stretch, isn't it? This is like the stomach spleen stretch. But remember, when we do the stretches, we are using an uncoiling and a coiling motion. And this kind of static stretch generally stretches the quad and doesn't really stretch the psoas. So this picture I picked out as a what not to do. So don't think we're going to be doing any of these. This is a what not to do. So can you see there? It's stretching the quad, but it's not really affecting the psoas, which is really attached to the rib, to the spine here. So what are we going to do? We're going to use the mind and the body together. It's essential to use the breathing practices and imagine that your muscles are breathing. They're contracting and relaxing, contracting and relaxing. They're not just static stretches. So before we begin the practice, we're going to take some Q&A because there's the theory part. And now we're going to go into the questions. So I'm going to stop the share for now. And I'm going to come back in and participants. I've set it now that you can actually unmute yourself. So has anybody got any questions from there before we begin the actual exercises?
I've got a question. Me.
Hello, Jane. Hello.
Hello, Joe. I was just wondering, because I've got a problem with my right hip. And I know you said about the different ways that your hips can tilt, but one of mine is that I've noticed that when I'm standing at the kitchen sink, if I think my hips are forward, I look at my feet and they're both kind of, I can't show you, yeah, my feet are kind of like that, but I think my hips are forward. But I've also got a pain at the back of my iliac as well. So I don't know, is there another muscle that's kind of being affected because of the tightness of the psoas? Does it sound like that probably is the psoas that is the problem?
It sounds like it is, but for that specific a question, that would have to be kind of like a one-to-one. And it sounds like that postural thing has usually postural things like that. If your hips are pointing one way and your feet are pointing the other, that's probably come on over a long space of time.
Yeah.
So I would say sometimes it can take up to 18 months to 2 years to rectify kind of the way that the muscles can sit, especially if you're working with the fascia, you know. So these are not quick fixes. They are going to be something that now you know where they are, you can actually picture them. For me, it's really important that you can picture where your muscles are in your body. If you want your mind to do anything internally to your body, you have to know what it looks like, and and you're having a conversation with it. So I would say usually if you've got leg discrepancies, that would be psoas. I mean, I can't speak exactly because this isn't a one-to-one session. But it does sound like that would be it. So just even when you can, whenever you can remember, just check your Ouija position when you're washing the dishes. Check feet hip width apart, knees nice and soft and bent, hips forward, tailbone slightly dropped and tucked under, spine elongated and pulled up from the top of the head. We start with that every morning, and that is a fundamental psoas release. That's that curling, that slight dropping the sacrum and curling under, big time stretching the psoas, because it's the opposite of when we've got duck bum. We're doing that instead. So all the time, whenever possible, stand like a puppet.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome, Jane. You're welcome. You're welcome. Anybody else before we start? Hey, Katie.
Hi, Joe. Sorry I missed the beginning, but here now. I always thought I had a shortened psoas, but from what we said today, I haven't. I've got the opposite. Is it a weak psoas muscle? Because I've got the flat bum, but I get lots of lower back pain and lots of other sort of problems. Would it be the same exercises? Would it be the same things to do?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it will. Because what you're doing is you're not looking to fix it. You're looking to strengthen it. So that's either whether you're choosing making it elongate or strengthening it and getting it to work properly. It's going to be the same exercises.
So it's really strengthening this, because it sounds like I didn't realize there was such a thing as a weak psoas. So that's really useful. I'm glad I know that. Thank you.
And the exercises, I mean, there's 3 of them, and then we're going to go into some psoas work. They're going to be applicable for everyone. And also I've picked ones that really, because this is a group session and I'm not working with you in person, I've picked ones that really can't be dangerous either. So you're not going to damage yourself either. All right. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
So let me know how it goes. So this is just the initial questions. Don't worry, there will be another session kind of at the end as well where you can ask questions. Everybody all right so far? Cool. All right, on we go. Let's have a look at the screen share. Now this bit, I have to say, I'm going to talk you through it, and then I'm going to stop the screen share again so that you can see me in a bigger picture and you can join along. Okay, so make sure you've got somewhere you can lie down. I said to bring a mat or have somewhere you can kind of lie down. So a lot of these exercises you're going to lie down, but first of all you're going to watch me do them. Okay, so just the same in the Qigong, I'm going to demonstrate them first. So here we are again. There we go. So this one is a lovely one. So this is water up, fire down. And this, people, yourselves, because you've all been on the Chi Flow, people are always asking me, there's a big favorite, sleep. People want to do something that can help them fall asleep. And so this one is going to be your double whammy. It's going to help you fall asleep, and it's also going to work your psoas. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk you through it first. So you inhale and you bring your toes up to the ceiling, and you're using the kidney water healing sound, which is choo, choo, a bit like a choo-choo train. Choo, and also easy to remember, because if you remember, the train drives you forwards, a bit like your kidneys drive you forwards. Choo, choo, choo. So you breathe in. So it's a bit tricky to make the sound, but it's, and then when you release, you exhale, point the toes down and breathe out. So let's just try the healing sounds first. So just center yourself and then breathe in. Release. So as we breathe in, we raise the toes, release. Okay. So let us just go through that. I'm going to demonstrate here. I'm going to take my headphones out because I can't hear you anyway. So here I am lying down, and so clencing my fists, bringing my toes to the ceiling. Fire up, water down. No, water up, fire down. Are you all practicing that? So breathing in, feet come up, hands are clenched. You make the sound chew as you breathe in. Release the breath, release the hands, release the toes, point them to the floor. Now just check in with your sacrum, check in with your psoas. Maybe you got a little bit of gurgling going on from dinner. Can you feel the psoas now? Just lying down. I want you to imagine it coming from the tops of the thighs, over the hips, really deep into the pelvis, and then attaching to the spine. All the way up, right from the lumbar region, right up through to the middle, the thoracic area of the chest. And let's do it a few more times. So breathing in, clenching up. Pointing the toes. Shorten the psoas and relax. Feel your thighs relaxing, all the psoas right through the sacrum, right up through to the spine. Relax. Let your thighs fall out to the side. See if you can feel the psoas. You have to use your imagination. So I'm going to carry on with the next one now. So the one before, and this one is called arch and flatten. So if you want, stay lying on your back and I'll talk you through it. Lie on your back, hands on your belly, and do some belly breathing. So your diaphragm breathing. So what do I mean by that? Hands on the belly, breathing in. Belly comes up. Push up your hands. And belly comes, breathing out. Belly falls back towards the spine. Releasing through the buttocks. Being aware of where the psoas is. Letting your legs fall out to the side. Breathing in. Feel your belly expanding, pushing your hands up. And now breathe out. This in itself is working the psoas muscles. Breathing in. And breathing out. Imagine the psoas lengthening. And now we'll take that on. Stay lying on your back. So we're going to tilt the hips. As we inhale, we're going to inhale and we're going to arch the spine and tilt the hips forwards. And as we exhale, we're going to flatten the spine to the ground, sinking the kidneys back into the ground. So lying on your back, hands on your belly. Let's just do a few diaphragm breaths. Breathing in, belly expand, and breathing out. Belly goes back to the spine. Now breathing in, arch your spine, tilt your hips. Breathing in, now breathing out, lengthen and flatten your kidneys back to the floor. Breathing out. Breathing in, arch. Breathing out, flatten. Breathing in, arch. Breathing out, flatten. Breathing in, arch. Arching the back, the lower back. And breathing out, pressing your kidneys against the floor, flatten the spine. And relax. Just let the hands fall to the sides. Let your arms and legs fall out. Maybe you can feel tingling right down deep in your thighs. Maybe you even feel the tingling around the sexual organs. Maybe you feel warmth in the spine and the kidneys. All of these are signs that the psoas is receiving blood and nourishment. So let's try that a few more times. Breathing in, arching up, tilt the hips. Breathing out, flatten the kidneys to the floor. Breathing in, arching up. Breathing out, flatten the kidneys to the floor. Last time, breathing in, arching through the spine. Breathing out, really pressing your spine against the floor, feeling your kidneys flat against the floor. And now just relax. Allow your body to fall into whatever position. And again, just be aware of the sensations. Right from the tops of your thighs, through your pelvis, to the lower spine and the middle of your spine. Sending them lots of attention, lots of chi. Now we're going to move into the next. You can stay lying down. We're going to extend the move. Now you can try this move, but if you have any pain at all, I want you to come back to the arch and flatten. Arch and flatten. Okay, so we're just going to take this move a little bit further. And you're going to have both feet on the floor with your knees bent. Okay, both feet on the floor with your knees bent. Breathing in, arch, let your spine arch. Bring one hand up to the belly. And as you exhale, feel some resistance with your knee against your hand. And then release your leg back down to the floor and relax. Feel your kidneys coming down to the floor, taking a breath. And release. So let's do that to the other side. Bring both feet onto the floor. And breathing in, arch through the spine, tilting the pelvis forwards. Bring the knee into the chest, inhaling. And exhaling, feel the resistance against the knee. And release. And then feel the kidneys flat on the floor. And starting again, Both feet on the floor, breathing it in, arch. Inhale, knee up to the tummy, and breathing out. Feel some resistance with your leg as you push against your hand, and release, breathing out. And relax. Allow the body to just come back to neutral, feeling your spine long against the floor. So what we're doing with this one is we're really engaging the psoas with that kind of resistance against the hand. So breathing in, arch the spine, bring the knee up to the chest, and breathing out, bring some resistance against your hands, and release. And feel the kidneys long against the floor. And we're going to do the next one, which is called monkey rests with knees in the air. So this is still part of the Dao Yin, which is kind of Qigong yoga. So monkey rests with knees in the air. First of all, hold your knees with the palms of your hands. So we're just resting with our knees in the air, and again, feeling your spine and your kidneys long against the floor. Now, what I want you to do is very slowly use the psoas muscles, feel the muscles deep, 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 deep into the pelvis, from the tops of the thighs, from the top of your femur, right up through the pelvis, to the lower spine and the thoracic spine. So as you're doing this, you're very gently rolling in circles. So let your knees fall out and then bring them back into your belly. And now become really aware of your sacrum, of that triangular bone at the base of your spine. And you're going all the way around that sacrum. And you're feeling the engagement of the psoas. Because like I said, there's nobody else that can really release your psoas apart from you. No one else can really work on the psoas apart from you. Or me, if you come for a shiatsu. But no. I can do some of the points, but really, you know, even if I'm doing shiatsu on you, unless your body is engaging with my conversation that I'm having with your body, then there's no point. So you are having a conversation with your body right now. Feel right into those muscles going from the femur up through the pelvis and attaching to the spine. So you're shortening them, you're bringing in the knees to the chest, and then you're allowing them to lengthen, but with a little bit of resistance as you're holding on to the knees. You can change directions, holding on to the knees, extending as far as they'll go, as far as the length of your arms. And when you do that, you'll really notice that the whole of your spine is engaged with the floor. So become aware of that psoas muscle. And now just dropping your feet onto the floor so your knees are still up, and relax. Relax in this position. And either you can arch and flatten, so breathing in, arch, curving your bum out, duck bum, and exhale, flatten. Kidneys really lovely, enjoying that massage deep into the floor. Breathing in, tilting the pelvis, inhaling, exhaling. Breathing in, arch, exhale, flatten. Now breathing in, inhale, bring the one knee up to the center of the chest. We're going to do this one again. Breathing out, feel some resistance as the knee moves away. and release. Letting the leg just be straight onto the floor and let it fall out to the side, just really releasing any tension right through the psoas. And so this is how you can really build up the strength and the blood in either side, hip by hip, psoas muscle by psoas muscle. Bring the feet, both feet back on the floor. Let's do the other knee. Breathing in, arch, bring the knee, opposite knee up, and exhale, flatten and feel some resistance against the knee, and release. And come to relax. Just let the leg fall outwards. Let's do one more, arch and flatten, breathing in, arch, and exhale, flatten. Picking up the knees, bring them into the chest, and now just making circles, feeling the resistance against your hands as the knees fall back down towards the floor. And then feel the psoas shortening as you bring the knees into the belly. Lengthening, feel the resistance, and shortening. Lengthen and shorten. Let the feet drop to the floor and send your legs out. And let's just do one more of those breathing in with the kidney sound and releasing with the heart sound. Breathe in, chew, breathe in, feet up to the ceiling. Release, point with the toes, feel the back pushing into the floor. Breathing in, feet up to the ceiling, clenching the fists, and pointing the toes, feeling the spine into the back, and release. Just coming to neutral, let the whole body relax. And belly breathing. Breathing in, feel the belly expand. Breathing out, send the belly and the perineum back to the spine. Breathing in and breathing out. Belly back to the spine. So see if you can actually feel perhaps I can really feel my kidney 1 point quite activated on my right foot, more so than my left. My lower back feels pleasantly warm and activated. All the sexual organs feel relaxed. My hips feel like they're really open. Now, so I'm going to stop the share again before we go into the acupressure points. And I'm just going to check in and see how that was for everybody. Now, I've set it to unmute. So, one, did you have any problem with the instructions? 2, is there any feedback you'd like to give? I can see there's some in the chat there. Let me just go to the chat. Yeah, fire up. You have to breathe in through your mouth because you have to make the sound. So it's so as you do that, the feet are coming up, you're tensing everything, and then You're letting it all go. Your spine is really pressed. You can do this in bed. It's a great one to do to help you fall asleep, kind of to tense everything and then let go. So you have to breathe through your mouth. A lot of yawning during the exercise. Nice exercises. Very good, Miriam. Yeah, yawning is another release. We do a lot of yawning when we're releasing. When you fire up, are you tensing the whole of the body? Yes. I tend to... everything comes up. Feet up, thighs up, buttocks. Tensing everything in, hands, fists, and in kind of, if you look, you kind of have to tense your kind of mouth as well. And then everything goes, you point your toes. So a really kind of easy one to remember, I think, as well. If you don't remember it, well, like she's like, what does the psoas do? I don't remember that. I don't remember that. You can remember like really. So how about anybody got any questions from those? Anybody like to share? Did anybody feel their psoas kind of warm? Often we feel warmth in the sexual organs. Anybody feel some tingling? Or I suppose perhaps you might not want to share that, but anybody want to share anything? Francesca, yes, you can unmute yourself if you'd like. I'm asking you to there you go.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
I thought I could feel maybe like the muscles, the psoas muscles when I did a bit of stretching, but I was just wondering, is there any stretches that for those muscles that don't involve lying directly flat on your spine? Because my spine is quite inflamed at the moment, so it hurts to lie flat on my back. Is there other types of psoas stretches that you can do upright or anything like that?
I'm going to show you the next set now.
Okay. Oh, I didn't realize.
No, you thought we were done, but we're not. I'd say we've got another 20 minutes. So this one is about an hour and a half class, this class. So the next one we're going to be doing is your feet are going to be, your legs are going to be straight out in front of you.
Okay.
And we're going to be doing some point work. So I wanted to include the Dao Yin kind of yoga style movements and now some point work. So the thing with the psoas is it's a lot to do with the mind. And I'm not saying that if you have a problem with the psoas, it's psychosomatic. That's absolutely not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying that the mind, because it's the flight or fight muscle, because if we are in that state of fear, you can see everything is like this, then that is going to shorten it. So if we can do both this and this, and we can actually train the body and use the mind. Remember in Qigong, we uncoil and coil in. So when we're doing this, imagine that the energy is coming up in spirals, up through the spine, up through the psoas. So use your mind as well. So even if you weren't lying down, could you do that? Anything else? See, traditionally, I don't want to kind of make up a new exercise like the ones I've shown you are like traditional Dao Yin. But I suppose if it was me, I would be kind of I suppose that one that we do in the morning where you put your hands on your spine and you breathe out, or you breathe in and you breathe out. You could incorporate that chew and the ha into that move as well. Chew, ha. Or even the other way, chew, ha. Okay, so if it is difficult for you to lie on your spine, you can always find workarounds that will coil and uncoil those muscles, because that's what we want to do. We want to move it both ways. Yep, Tom, now Anne's iPhone. That's nice, Anne. Tom has given you his iPhone. When I release, my feet roll out to the side. Yeah, absolutely. Great. That's the uncoiling. They're opening out. That's brilliant. And as we bring it in, coil it back in. You can point the toes and then let them fall to the outside. All right. Patricia, yes, felt lots of tingling and release. Also, my right hip was stiff and sore initially, but looser as we went on. Miriam, your body shook once or twice, and that's not surprising. So you might see sometimes advertised psoas release, trauma release exercises, TRE. So a lot of this Taoist Qigong is used in TRE, trauma release exercises, especially with the ones where you bring your knee up to your chest and then you feel the resistance, and then as you breathe out, you let go, and that's going to be stretching the psoas as it's attached through from the spine through the femur. Okay, so it's no surprise that you shook, because sometimes the trauma is stored in these psoas muscles, and so going really gently with them is really essential. So don't underestimate the power of those 3 exercises that I just showed you. If you can do them on a regular basis, you will find that your mind thinks clearer and you can see more possibilities. When you fire up, you tense the whole of your body. Okay, so I think we've got through those questions. Anything else before we begin the point work? Kira, you're waving. Hey, Kira.
Hi, Joanne. Just when I was taking the in breath and arching your back, my back was pinching a little bit. Would that be normal?
Well, don't do it till it's pain. So maybe arch a little bit. You found the pain point, so arch a little bit less, and maybe do the fire up and water down first. You know, do plenty of those.
Right. Okay.
And just gently raise your spine. Gently raise your spine and then release, and then build it up. But yeah, you don't want to kind of move through pain. Okay, so I would practice using your feet, bringing them up towards you, and then exhaling down to start that one. That one is the first one to do.
Okay.
All right. And then doing the one where you hold your knees as well. So out of those 3, I think you would be able to find one where you weren't in pain, but you are increasing the blood flow to the area.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now I'm going to show you the points, and this also might help you to if the exercises weren't your thing, then maybe the points will be as well. All right, so I'm going to go back to screen share, and as before, I'm just going to waffle on and go through the points, and there might be quite a lot of questions. I'm going to leave it, will I leave it unmuted? Yes. Okay, so I have now left it that you can unmute yourself. And what I would ask is that you just shout out your question as I'm going through it. Okay, is that all right with everybody? So if you're not sure about where I am, I think rather than wait until the chat, if you want some clarification, you can ask me as we go along. Okay. All right. Okay, so now we go into the second part, and really I've picked the psoas this month specifically because we are talking about the immune system, And most of our immune system, the receptors for the immune system are in the gut. So, you know, they talk about probiotics, that you need to have a good microbiome, you need to have a good large intestine so that you can have a strong immune system. And, you know, we've been talking all month about lung, large intestine, spleen, and stomach. A healthy psoas muscle, as I said, massages the internal organs and especially the intestines as we breathe, as we walk, as we talk. All of these things are happening if our psoas is working properly. Even as I'm sitting here, my psoas is engaged because my diaphragm is engaged. It's such a core internal muscle. So during the flight or fright response, our intestines are told to shut down. Like if you're running away from a tiger, there are certain things that shut down. One is your stomach will stop digesting, your intestine will stop excreting. All of these internal body functions are not happening. Also, the sexual organs shut down. You know, if you're running away from a tiger, you're not going to be able to get an erection. You're also not going to be able to get lubricated and have sex. You're not going to be able to do those things if you are in flight or fight. So that's not what we want to be in. We want to be able to eat, digest, absorb, and also, like I said, procreate at a cellular level. We need to be doing all those things. I've suddenly got yellow on my screen. That's very interesting. If our body, this amazing design lets us run away from lions and tigers and bears. If our body thinks we're in constant danger, the psoas is chronically tight and you will get constipation, and anxiety can ensue when the bodily functions don't work properly. And conversely, if you suffer from IBS or any irritation or inflamed acid reflux, anything like that, where your diaphragm is involved, then your psoas is also going to be involved, and releasing the psoas can bring great relief. And the psoas, like I said, it's that great stabilizing force. It's absolutely the linchpin of the whole body. We're able to move forwards, backwards, sideways, bend. Everything comes from the psoas. Now, there are 3 essentials, as you remember, for the immune system. It's a strong wei qi. You need to reduce stress and build your energy. And these are all created from the lung, large intestine, stomach, and spleen, as we've covered all month. So I really hope that you know, anybody on this talk has been with us for the whole month, because it might not make as much sense, but I'm going to hope that it really does. So the stomach and spleen and the lung, large intestine, the energy from these create the wei qi, which is the force field that surrounds us all around us. And these 4 meridians are really linked to the psoas, because they all run down the front of the body, and they're really involved with the bodily process. The lung takes in the air, the stomach and spleen take in the food, and that's what gives us our energy. The large intestine lets go of the food. These are very human activities. So we're going to go through the stomach and spleen, lung, large intestine points. So what I want you to do first is I want you to sit with your legs straight out on the floor. And I'm going to show you how the lung mirrors the spleen. So the lung meridian, if you remember, starts here, lung 1, and it comes down the inside of the arm and finishes at the outside corner of the thumb. And it does that on both sides. And the spleen begins at the corner of the big toe and runs up the inside of the leg. It comes up right through where the psoas is. So that's why when we're working on the spleen meridian, we're really working on the psoas. It comes up and it goes either side of the breast to spleen 21, so spleen 20, and comes down here to spleen 21. So you remember spleen 21, we've been doing that all week and last week, I think. So the lung meridian mirrors the spleen, because if you think about it, we've got shoulders, big bone, 2 small bones and loads of little bones, and it's the same. Hips, 1 big bone, 2 smaller bones, lots of little bones. That the shoulders and the arms are a mirror for the hips and the legs. So the lung mirrors the spleen. So let us start there. So we're going to start with, can I go backwards? Yes. What I'm going to get you to do is take your thumbs and just rub the corner of your big toe. This is activating spleen 1, and you're using the inside corner of your thumb, which is lung 1. So we're activating the spleen and the lung meridians. We're also lengthening through the spine. If you can't reach your toes, you can bring your legs up. That's no problem at all. We're doing this. And then I want you to trace your hands up here, and we're going to come to spleen 12 and spleen 13. And what I will do is, I hope you can all see me, that this screen is big enough. Spleen 12 and spleen 13. What I want you to do is sit down, and you are going to find your pubic bone, and you're going to find where your pubic bone meets your hip bone, and that is spleen 12. So fingers ready. You're coming in and find your pubic bone. So just above your pubic bone, use your fingers and work your way to the outside. And we're coming to spleen 12. And this is called rushing gait. And it does what it says on the tin. It's a gait that really helps the blood flow go from the legs to the lower belly, to all the sexual organs, and right around to the buttocks, but really helping to bring blood to the psoas muscle. All right, so here we go. You're going to find it, got your fingers, find your pubic bone, come out to where it just meets your hip bones, and you might find that it's sore. Just be gentle. And what you can do is just lean forwards. Just lean forwards and let your fingers press into spleen 12. And just the same as spleen 21 that we've been working with all week, an acupuncture point is called a tsubo. And a tsubo almost kind of like, sometimes it might feel empty and you gather the energy to it. But in this place, I doubt it feels empty. Usually it can feel quite tense, like even like knotted. Sometimes it feels stringy. Sometimes it feels like a bag of frozen peas. So just massaging into there. And now sitting back up, I want you to come up your hip bone about an inch. And you're coming to spleen 13. Now, this is often the point that physiotherapists will use on your iliac crest to release the psoas. But you're using spleen 12 and spleen 13. So do you remember how you found them? You get your fingers, find your pubic bone, come out to where it meets the hip bone. That's spleen 12. Come up your hip bone about a thumb width, and that's spleen 13. Lean forwards. And just feel. I use my middle finger mainly because it's my longest finger. And you might feel like my left side is tighter than my right side. You know, which foot do you lead with? Which arm do you lead with? What is your stronger side? What is your weaker side? I mean, sometimes it can be emotional. Sometimes it can be physical. Like I'm pressing on this now and I can feel a whole kind of bubbling going through my intestines. And I can feel a kind of good release on my left side. And if that doesn't float your boat, remember you can also tap. You can tap just into spleen 12 and spleen 13. You can rub. And again, you can do both of those points. Lean forwards. And if you've had enough of those, we're going to move on and we're going to move up the body. So we did the spleen 12 and 13, the psoas release points, and we're going to come up the body to come to lung 1 and 2 and spleen 20. Now, lung 1 and 2, find your collarbone, come out, and where there is a meeting of the rotator cuff and the collarbone, that is lung 2. And just go about a thumb width down and slightly out, and that's lung 1. And then go just underneath that, and that is spleen 20. And do you remember I said that the shoulders mirror the hips? So by working on spleen 20 and lung 1, you're actually helping to release the breath, release the diaphragm, and release the psoas. Okay, now I love spleen 20. What you can do is also just massage into these points and see where it's painful. And if it's painful, that lung 1 is a mu point, which is really a very strong point. And if lung 1 is painful for you, it is that there is a problem with the lung channel, and probably you are breathing too short. Maybe you have a cough. Maybe you have a slightly impaired immune system. So you want to be able to press and rub. That's into lung 1, and also spleen 20 just below that. And I love the name for spleen 20. It's called the Great Blossoming. So you can imagine you've got these beautiful flowers, these beautiful roses that are blossoming from this area here. Because quite often, if we're not breathing properly or we're in fight or flight, we do this. And we don't, these points become very contracted. So what I want you to do is open those points, give them a rub, give them a bit of love. And believe me, they will also help to release the psoas. They're called distal points, so that we don't actually have to. Sometimes when clients come to me, the area is too tense, too painful, too frightening to touch. You know, you can't go straight into somebody's abdomen. You know, they haven't met me before. Lie down and let me press on spleen 12. So I will begin by working these points here. So go gently with your body. So you got those? Do you feel yourself breathing properly? I can just waffle on. So I want you to really feel into your body. I can really feel that releasing and flowing, just allowing. Because it's a spleen stomach point, I can really feel my tummy just releasing. Connect as you're doing these, connect with your psoas muscles, picture them. You can do this when you're lying down, sitting up. And now let's go to the next ones. So that is the stomach and spleen meridian. I mean, I can't tell you, these are a meridian family. You know, there's no coincidence that these meridians work together to make your immune system. They're what's known as a meridian family. So the lung and the spleen end and start, and they come up here. And again, lung 1, spleen 20, the end of the spleen meridian, the beginning of the lung. And now we're going to move to the stomach, large intestine, because they are the yang channels for the same for the meridian family. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for stomach 3. So if you imagine you had a line coming down through your pupils and just on top of the cheekbone, you can tap, you can press. This is stomach 3. This is pretty much the beginning of the stomach meridian. We can't press into stomach 1. You know, it's like in the eye. We're not going to go there. So stomach 3. And large intestine 20 is the end of the large intestine meridian, and that is just underneath the kind of roundy bit of the nose. You'll feel kind of like a little hollow underneath either side of your nose. What I want you to do is do both of those at the same time. And what you might find is you might find your head clearing, your sinus clearing. Sometimes if you do this and just pull out to the side slightly. See if you can feel your psoas releasing. This should be clearing your head, stopping fuzzy thoughts. It might kind of move a headache you've got, release any eye strain, and in that way begin to release all the muscles down over the top of the skull, down the back, right into the psoas, right down the spine, through the spine, right to the top of the leg. So they're really good. Itchy nose. They are also really good if you're constipated. If you're constipated, you have sinusitis, doing these points here will affect right down into the lower dantian, your lower area, your psoas, sexual organs, organs of elimination. And the last 2 points I'm going to show you are not 2 points because they are 2 points, but they are the same point on 2 different meridians. The large intestine mu point. Now, a mu point in Chinese medicine means that when you press it, you get an infusion of energy into the body. They're very special points. Lung 1 is a mu point. Large intestine mu point is, find your belly button. Everybody found the belly button? I want you to measure 2 finger widths and go horizontal from your belly button. All right, so again, belly button, 2 fingers, and go horizontal out. Now this is also stomach 25. And by working this, you really affect the whole of the large intestine, sexual organs, right down through the psoas. Like I said here, it's called Heaven's Pivot. I mean, what a name. I love the names for the points. They're just so poetic. Heaven's Pivot. These 2 points here, give them a massage. Again, you can lean over. So you don't have to bring any force or any tension to the rest of your body. You can just lean over and work the points. Heaven's Pivot. And it's the single most important point for the treatment of the widest variety of intestinal disorders. So if you have IBS, if you have any inflammation of the gut, using these points regularly, which is stomach 25, which is the same point, the large intestine mu point. Can you see how intrinsic the stomach and large intestine are bound together? Using these points on a regular basis will help with any IBS, any intestinal inflammation, constipation, anything that is of your lower belly, and that in turn will help to release your psoas. There's a lot of information there, and it is 8:30, so we've been going for an hour and a half, but I'm going to come back in just all right then. These are also massive points. So here we go, large intestine 4. We found this last month. Bring your thumb together with your index finger. Find the top of the mountain and press into here. Not if you're pregnant. If you're pregnant, do not press this point. This moves the uterus. This moves the blood in the uterus. This moves, as I said, moves the blood to the sexual organs, helps with elimination, gets the large intestine moving and eliminating. Pressing into there, pressing into both sides. And now the other point that we're going to do, and we're actually going to do these next month as well in the bone building, because these are amazing points. Get your palm on the inside of your knee, and where you're, put your index finger underneath your kneecap. 1, 2, 3. Bring your little finger over. Where the little finger falls will be kind of just underneath the bone, and you'll find kind of like a little divot, a little wellspring point. This is stomach 36. Stomach 36 is that 3-mile point. Both of these points, I want you to join together now. Imagine large intestine 4 is combining with stomach 36. Feel the meridians flowing through the body. Feel the connection between these 2 points, and imagine all the energy flowing around the body effortlessly, releasing the psoas. Let me see if I can sit in a better way. This will have to do. So I'm just joining those 2 points here. And this will really help raise your energy. So if you are feeling exhausted because your psoas muscle is tight, because you've got IBS, because of any of these things, spleen 36, large intestine 4. But let's go back to the main psoas point to finish on, which is spleen 12 and spleen 13. Get your fingers, find your pubic bone, take that out to the side where it meets your hip bone, and over we go. And maybe you feel it's less painful now you've been doing the whole of the meridians. Now that you've done those lung points and the other spleen points, maybe it's become less painful. And let's come out, another thumb width up your hip bone and lean forwards. So right into that iliac crest, top of the hip bone, just inside the top of the hip bone there. And give a lovely rub, holding the hands over the lower dantian, just below and behind the belly button. And feel all the connection between the points. We've just done the whole lung, large intestine, spleen, stomach, meridian set. So let's come in for a little bit of any questions there. Everybody tell me, did you find the points okay? How was the spleen 12 and spleen 13? Was it easier the second time you came around? I can see a thumbs up from Amateur Shuri. Very good there. Taking a complete psoas elongation, lying down. Very good. Very good. So tell me there. Lydia, I know you're a shiatsu practitioner. How did you find combining those meridians, thinking of them as a circuit, the lung and the spleen, the large intestine and the stomach? Hey, Janu.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I'm not actually sure if I could find the spleen 12 and 13. I think I was somewhere close around it anyway, but I'm not sure if that was the right place. But I can always check maybe on the book or something, just to make sure.
Let me see if I can show you as well in the book. So it might help to see a picture. Maybe I should have put a picture in the presentation as well. So let me see.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So for me to show you, here is, let me see. There is the pubic bone.
Yeah.
And there is the hip. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the hip out to the pubic bone, and spleen 12 is here.
Okay.
And spleen 13 is like a thumb width, because pretty much each one of these, it's called a kun, C-U-N, and one kun is one thumb width. So 12 to 13, they are one thumb width apart. So to find again, you find your pubic bone, come out until you hit your hip bone, and that's 12. And like I say, sometimes it can feel stringy. Sometimes it can feel like a bag of frozen peas. and then come up a little bit more, and you will find spleen 13. And that spleen 13 is usually used by physiotherapists to really kind of get into that kind of iliac crest area. I actually find spleen 12 much more beneficial than spleen 13.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so in the picture, that is what I was thinking. Like for me, I'm very visual, so when I see the picture itself, it's easier. Thank you.
You're welcome. Draw a line, and it'll hit the hip bone and where those two bones meet. So you can do it lying down on your back is pretty easy to do, but I quite like sitting because then you can kind of just lean into it, and then you're not having to use any pressure to press.
Yeah. Thank you. I really, really enjoyed the presentation. It was great, like very informative as well. So thank you.
You're welcome, Jana. You're welcome. Thank you. Georgina, I know that you had something to ask.
Yeah, it was just, Joanne, when you were doing the things, the screen. Oh,
sorry.
The screen. I could only see a small picture of you, and I found it very hard to see what you were actually doing.
Okay.
Because you were on a screen share, and the screen share was bigger than you. Yes. Whether it might be my computer, I don't know, but it was very small, and I found it difficult to see.
Yeah. Maybe I should have turned the screen share off. You didn't need to see the writing.
Yeah.
You needed to see me more.
Yes, but it was very useful, and thank you so much. It was great.
You're welcome. Was there any points that you weren't sure where they were exactly? Can I help?
Well, actually, that one that Janu asked about, so you explained that one, and it was just some of them when I was lying down. I was trying to see it, but I was listening to you as well, so I managed fairly well with most of them.
Good, good. Yes. Yeah. So the spleen, the other important one is finding the belly button, 2 fingers out, and you can do both of those, and that's the large intestine moo point. I really would recommend doing them on a daily basis as well, especially if you have any intestinal problems.
Right. Yeah. Well, definitely, I have digestion problems. So, and actually, it has improved brilliantly in the last little while. Except yesterday was very bad, but most days now it's much better. So, I think with diet and with the movement, it is helping it.
Yeah. And do that stomach 25 point every day, and that'll really help. Heaven's Pivot. Heaven's Pivot.
A lovely name. Great. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Georgina. Anybody else, because I was very small on the screen, anybody else want me to just revise where the points were at all? Lydia, hello, Lydia, because I know Lydia is a shiatsu practitioner as well. How are you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, no, I wanted to say, I was looking at the points you gave, and they are the one we usually use, and it works so well on people.
Which one was that? Which one are you talking about there? The point, which point, or all of them?
No, all of them. And it's like all together, plus some on the bladder 23 and so on. But they work like it's incredible how it's working. Sometimes if the issue is not here for a long time, 1 session and it's over, otherwise 3 or 4, I would say, plus some movements, that the breathing that you know, and so on. But if the people are working at home and you do the shiatsu, it's working fantastically.
Yes, the shell shiatsu, Lydia saying, really, really works. It really, really does. Yeah, thank you, Lydia. Thank you. Francesca, how were the points for you? Would you say that you would be more using the points than the exercises? How did you find that?
Can people hear me?
Yeah.
I actually found that a lot more manageable, and I felt it, and I liked the one where you meet the I guess the hip bone, and then you go further up again, and then you lean forward. I really felt that, and that felt quite nice, like a bit of a release actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one, I always do anyway because I've got bad bowel disease as well. So like I feel like that helps me in general when I do that. So yeah, that was a lot better. Thank you.
Good.
And when I don't have a flare up, I can do the other ones also as well, I'm sure,
Yeah. And even standing in that Ouija position, just stand in the Ouija position slightly with the tailbone tucked under, and that will elongate the psoas and just kind of help relieve any kind of tension that might, because those flare-ups are also going to be giving you that kind of stress response as well. So, and I think the ones that are either side of the belly button for you will be also really, really good.
Yeah, and the one that you said, the one that I can do the chew kind of like out like that while sat up instead. I know it was like a different version you're just kind of experimenting with there, but I think that could work as well,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
it's great.
It's brilliant. Great, Francesca. Great. Anybody else? I did see somebody else was muted themselves. How are you doing there, Dawn? Because I know that you joined specifically for this talk. Did you get what you needed from the talk? Is there anything that struck you or that you would need more clarification on? Hey, Dawn.
Hi there. No, thank you so much. This was wonderful. And I feel like I'm in Ireland with everyone, which makes me really happy. And yeah, it was perfect. And I felt the release, and I'm really excited to see how it connects to my sexuality, because that's my work. And yeah, it was great to be here, and everybody seems so knowledgeable. I'm from Los Angeles.
Yeah, Dawn's in Los Angeles, and Dawn works a lot with Tantra and Neo Tantra, and I've been to Dawn's workshops, which are fantastic. And I know that you were probably interested in this in relation to the work that you do. So getting, those points, were you clear? Was I clear about where the points are and everything?
Yeah, you were great, and I could feel them. Yeah. I could, once I got to them, I could feel them. And I love the stretching out exercise, the toes up, toes down. That was amazing. And I loved one question. When we were doing where we brought our knee in, do I push against my knee as I exhale to give a little bit of a feeling of resistance?
You actually push against, like that, so you're not pushing it down. You're pushing away, so you're resisting, and then you let it go, and you find that actually what happens is your leg starts to feel part of your body. So we're not these disembodied limbs. We're aware that with the psoas, it's connecting our legs back up to the spine. So to be clear, you're bringing it in, and then you're resisting it, and then you release. I mean, it's a really brilliant one that I use a lot with clients, because I can actually do that. I can get them to push against my hand, and then as they exhale, they're pushing against me, and then we release.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really good if you can get partners to work with that.
Okay.
Get people to partner up to do that. And it's quite an easy one. If you imagine people are lying down, then it comes into the chest, slightly into the midline. So it's not just direct, slightly into the midline. And then the person will slightly push into the knee. The person will release and push against. And then when you get to about here, just hold the leg and allow it to just release. Some great partner work.
I love it. It feels very intimate, very sweet. Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you. Now, let me just have a look. Jane there, fantastic talk. Have to go. Her dogs are clamoring. So this is it. If you have a question, now is your chance. Pop on in. Otherwise, we will say good evening and good night. Amateur Shuri, I love your heart. Thank you very much. All right, I think that's it for now. Beautiful to have you here, and you'll get the recording soon enough. Have lots of chi, and I'll see you tomorrow morning for Chi Flow. Take it easy. Water up, fire down.